I was born in Botswana, which is near the south of Africa, and I came to the UK when I was a kid. My mother's Nigerian and my father is English. I moved to Plymouth in the southwest of the UK, which is kind of like it's a very rural area. We were the only pretty much the only black family I ever came across growing up, but we moved to a middle class area, and we struggled with money for various reasons, and I always had this orientation towards business and making money and building stuff. When I think back to being a kid, I used to go to my dad's printer, take his paper out of the printer and take a biro and write ones on the first sheet of paper, twos on the second sheet of paper, threes on the second sheet. I'd then cut it up into dollar bills, and then I'd give it to my brothers, and I'd tell them that they could come back to my bunk bed and spend that money on getting their feet massaged, their back tickled. I'd take my mum's moisturizer and I'd give them massages on my bunk bed just to get all that paper back that I just gave them. And this is what I would do for fun. What I wouldn't do for fun is school. So I found it extremely hard to pay attention in school. I went back and spoke there once. I think her name was Mrs. Birchnell, came up to me and said, "You're a lovely guy, but you still owe me homework. You never did your homework." And that's the reflection of reality. I struggled to pay attention, which led me to spend so much of my time in school in exclusion, the little unit where you just look at the wall, and then to get expelled, but then unexpelled, in the words of my headmaster, because I made the school a lot of money from the business stuff that I was doing, from the vending machine deals that I did for the school and from the school trips and stuff. Went to university, dropped out after one lecture because it was school again and I can't pay attention in school, and started my first business at 18. And that was Wool Park, which I did for about 2 years, up until the point that I discovered that the best way to get traffic to Wool Park was using this thing called social media, which people were quite pessimistic about at the time. So left my company abruptly to focus on social media content, this new attention economy, and that took me all over the world. So took me to San Francisco where I worked in technology, helping them use social media to grow applications, took me back to London, and ultimately it was a client of mine that turned around to me one day when I was 18, 19 and said, "What you're doing for us is amazing. Do you want to turn it into a business?" I said no for the first couple of months because I'd been through a startup and there was still a little bit of startup PTSD there. But about 4 months later I said yes and took the check, walked downstairs, paid it to the bank, and started what would become Social Chain. And that for the next 5-6 years took me all over the world. We had offices in Berlin, in London, in Manchester, in New York, and then I resigned from that 27, joined Dragon's Den, decided to focus on the podcast when I was 27, started FlightStory, started my fund, and here I am now.